We're ready to go. Guys are going to be, focused. It's, kind of is what it is. But look, I've always said that you want to be one of the teams that is in the conversation at the end of the season, and obviously us and Tennessee are in the conversation. So, great opportunity for our organization to play Saturday night, primetime game, and showcase what we've got.
Had you petitioned the league for to maybe give you the extra day to have a full week?
There's always opportunities to reach out and just kind of express, your concern, with that, and especially with Tennessee playing a Thursday game. But look, at the end of the day, we're just excited to be here, to be in this type of game. I think it's great for our players, great for our city to have it and to host it here, and obviously in Jacksonville this Saturday night.
Where do you shrink the week?
What about what?
Does Tuesday become Wednesday? Wednesday becomes Thursday?
Yeah, you just adjust. It's no different than if you were to play on a Thursday. You just adjust your schedule and move things up. And the biggest thing is to make sure the guys are rested and prepared.
Does it help make up for that recovery difference that you were able to rest some guys in the second half yesterday?
Oh yeah. It takes some wear and tear off of their bodies, and we were fortunate enough to do that. In this last game, and today's a big day for them to come in and recover and take care of their bodies. We'll have more time tomorrow to do that before we hit the field.
Titans have a little bit, I guess, of a quarterback question now. You don't really know if you're going to get Josh Dobbs or Malik Willis. How hard is it to prepare for two guys, especially one that's only made one start in the NFL?
Josh did some nice things, in that last game, and I would anticipate that they would lean towards him being the starter, in this game, and so that's how you prepare. But obviously, you got to be ready for both guys, and again, you're gonna have a rested Derrick Henry too, and we know what he did in the first half of our game, the last time here about 4 weeks ago. So, great challenge for our defense, great challenge for our football team, and looking forward to it.
Outside of the quarterback position, how are they different from the last time you faced them last month?
They've got a couple of different pieces on defense. A couple guys went on IR. But for the most part, they're still the Tennessee Titans. They do what they do. They do it well on defense. Do the same thing on offense. We know it's going to run through the running back and then ultimately the play action pass and things of that nature. So look, we're week 18, so there's not a lot of secrets with both teams. They kind of know us, we know them, and it's just going to be a really good football game.
Hey, Doug, the injury situation, I mean, I think somebody asked you this after the game about the medical tent never went up and, maybe a couple of bumps and bruises and everything. So in addition to taking care of business, winning the game, getting guys rested, there were no additional injuries, or so it appeared. Do you look back and can't believe how fortunate you got in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, it's, all season we've been really, really, really fortunate, as far as the injuries go. I mean, I know we Smoot, Cam, those guys, Ben Barch early in the year. I mean, guys that we've lost, but it's we're just happy and kind of pleased to where we are, health-wise with our football team, and really to get out of yesterday's game, with no significant injuries, moving forward, But that was, that was the plan. The plan was to go in full steam ahead, against Houston and have our guys play, and if we were fortunate enough to be in a position like we were, I was going to pull those guys out.
That said, at some point late fourth quarter, up until the last possession by Houston, did you notice that Josh Allen was still in there?
Yeah, you got to have 11 on defense, and some guys you just from nature of the beast, guys are going to have to play. You can't get them all out, but we got the guys that were probably the most injured, I guess, or nicked up. Gave them a chance to rest a little bit.
And did Trayvon move around a little bit good enough for you?
Yeah,
27 snaps, I guess.
Yeah, Trayvon did well. Came out of it healthy. Felt good throughout the course of the game. Had conversation with him during the game to make sure that he was, feeling good and he wasn't putting himself in harm's way, and came out well.
How do you look at that injury situation that we're talking about? Houston, Tennessee leads the league in guys on IR. You guys are at least probably the leaders, if not up in the top. Is that just pure luck? Is there something you guys are doing differently? Is it the part of having a young team?
Yes.
I
mean, that's a lot. It's a lot there. I mean, look, we could spend all day talking about this. because there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, obviously, the youth of your football team, can help out. I mean, yeah, there is some luck to staying away from the injury bug, and player history, player's health, right? The history of the player, and we're in a physical game, violent game, and a lot of contact and that physicality, that takes place. So we've just been fortunate and blessed to be where we're at.
What do you think? Go ahead.
Good.
What do you think, watching the film back? I know Trevor said post-game to the reporter on the field, he said, it wasn't a complete game, that it wasn't the best game for the offense. Watching it back, where can you use that perhaps as learning tool, something to build on, or also fun?
Yeah, this is probably not the game to really study and move on. It's more or less move on from.
Yeah.
But just from the look, there were a lot of distractions around the football team last week, and my main focus was to keep them focused. Right, task at hand. You guys are asking them questions about meaningless games, and this one doesn't matter, and why are you playing, and all this other stuff. So you're kind of fanning the flame, and and I'm trying to go the other way with it, and it's hard. It's hard. So there were a lot of distractions around the game, but what I'm most proud of is how the guys handled their business. It wasn't perfect, like Trevor said, and obviously it just it's a coaching moment where you have to understand that everything we do matters. And, whether you go back to preseason games or, week 17 games, everything we do, we're gonna try to win the game, number one. And so there are some takeaways from it, but for the most part, we're not even gonna spend a ton of time watching this game, with the players. We're on to Tennessee.
How big of a lift can the home crowd be in a almost playoff-like game for you?
Well, it is a playoff game. It's a win and you're in, so it's playoff atmosphere. Gosh, it'll be fun to be in a full stadium, a loud stadium, a home crowd. The guys they'll get jazzed up and we have a lot of energy, and that's what you want, and that's what we're trying to build here, and that's the culture we want. We want full stadiums every Sunday.
Did you have to worry more about getting the guys ready for last week than you do have to get them ready for this week? Because, they kind of know what this game is, know what's on the line. You have to have a pretty good feeling that they're going to show up ready to go. Yeah,
these games, you shouldn't have to check the pulse of anybody. They should be fired up and ready to go. And these are games you want to play in as a player, you want to coach in as a coach, and again, it's part of the culture that we're trying to establish. And again, as we move forward, whether it's the remainder of this season into 23, next year, and beyond, you want to be here at the end with an opportunity to play in the postseason.
Do you have some of those guys that have more postseason experience, maybe a Darius, that talk to the team about the atmosphere, since a lot of these guys haven't been there and done that?
I think there's enough guys that you can lean on, and share their experiences, with the postseason, kind of what these types of games mean. But at the same time, I think everybody understands that, hey, it's about just locking in, doing your job, trusting our process. We talked about it after the game. It's like, we don't have to do anything special. Just keep preparing and keep doing the things we're doing, and just get yourself ready to go.
When you look back at your Super Bowl winning team in Philly, and even the team after that, which also could have easily made another Super Bowl run, and you look at this team, is there some comparisons from the unity bond standpoint of the team, and at this point of the season, the confidence?
There are. I think, the teams that are, in the postseason conversations, this time of year, I think everybody kind of feels that bond amongst the team, and and it's a genuine bond. It's it's something that it kind of builds over the course of the year. Every team, you guys know, you go through adversity. You got the highs, lows of the season. We had we had that stretch in October that wasn't very good for us, but I think that builds your character, your team, and we stayed the course. We stayed, true to what we were doing, and guys do become closer. They understand each other a little bit better, and so you kind of, as you get into games like this, you know that the player next to you has your back just like you have his back, and you know, that's where we're at with this football team, and you know, that can carry a good ways.
So did October tell you really a lot more about your team than anything else? Because even us asking questions in the locker room during that period when, it was, close off after close off, there was never any kind of like wavering. There was no comments of frustration with somebody or anything like that. I mean, obviously they regretted losing the game, but I mean,
Sure.
you never kind of detected any kind of fracturing at all.
Through that type of adversity, I think you see the true colors of your team. You see the character of the team. Winning can cover a lot of things up, a lot of the mistakes, a lot of the bad things, that pop up. So during that stretch, I think, I credit the coaches for teaching, right, and making the necessary corrections, the players handling the corrections and taking it, to the field the next week and trying to fix them. But that stretch, really kind of prepared us, I think, for where we're at, and you kind of build a callus around yourself, and you learn to rely on each other and trust each other, and play hard for the man next to you each week.
This team seems so even keeled, right? In the locker room yesterday, and your post-game locker room video, you're so even keeled. Is that just your personality, or did you learn that from Andy or from Mike Holmgren or Coach Shula? Where does your coaching style in that even keeled come from?
I think it's kind of who I am a little bit. I do believe that, my career as a player and a coach, I look at what, Mike Holmgren, Andy, and Coach Shula, and some of the great quarterbacks I played with. I mean, you never get too high, you never get too low, and you just kind of stay the course. This is a long season. Emotions can run high, but at the same time, I think you gotta just be you and stay steady. Your team is going to reflect you, right? And the messaging has to be consistent. The messaging has to be on point. And what I'm hearing now from the players is exactly what I thought and hoped would happen when we started this journey back in the spring, is that they're beginning to talk a language here that is all part of the culture, and so for that is kind of staying. You listen to Trevor's post game, and he's level headed, and the guys are level headed, and it's just it's a business mentality, and they can have fun and hoop and holler and all that too as well, but at the same time they know that there's unfinished business.
So following up on that, so your just be yourself message to the team, is that more about trying not to overdo too much or treat this game any more importantly than the others, or is it about, like, you guys know who you are at this point?
Well, we understand this is a huge game. We understand. Tennessee is the same way. They understand this is a huge football game, and so we don't have to preach that. That's the message that doesn't have to be taught. The message is just continue to build upon what we've done for 17 weeks, and that's improving each week. That's just staying the course, trusting the process. My job is to make sure the guys are as fresh and healthy and all that. By the time we get to Saturday this week, and it's their job to study the game plan. So that's all part of the process, and again, you don't have to go, too far overboard to let them know that this is a pretty big game.
As a coach, what is more difficult, trying to harness all the energy surrounding this week or last week, knowing that the meaningless game talk was floating around as well?
Yeah, I mean, last week's got its challenges from that standpoint, but I think this is a week that you can't get so riled up early in the week that expels that takes a lot of energy out of you, right? You got to just sort of bottle it up, and again, just go about your business each day, and get ready for Saturday night, and so games like this is about kind of holding back and again, eventually let them cut themselves loose on Saturday night. But, both have their challenges, the types of weeks they are. I was proud of the guys for the way they handled last week, and, this will be the same this week.
Oh, field practice. Are you guys gonna be able to practice on that field tomorrow?
Yeah, have you seen it? It's beautiful.
dirt,
It's
half
grass.
dirt right now.
It's grass.
Half dirt.
It's all grass. Got to be optimistic.
But you won't be at the high school, and you won't be on there. You won't be.
No, we should. The field will be great. Be ready for us tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
we'll be out there. Yep.
If you have you guys' schedule for the rest of the week, I think the basic parameter, though, he'll speak again Wednesday and again on Thursday. Okay, a little different just because of the Saturday game, but we'll get you the specific time slots and all that later this afternoon.
So nothing
Okay.
tomorrow. Just gonna cram Friday and Saturday.
We'll have all that
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, we'll have all that posted. Yeah, tomorrow's just a little bit different. Later start time for the players.
By the way, while we were talking, they announced Dobbs is gonna start while we were here, so.
There you
Target him on.
go. There you go.
There you go.
Thanks.
Thanks,
All right.
Doug.
Thank you. Thank you.